How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. Swept by the Miami freaking Marlins, Ryan. Did not see that coming. I said before the series, we need to sweep the Marlins. I did not mean for it to be opposite day. Yankee is now in a really tough spot. They're second in the American League East. They're second in the wild card. Plenty of baseball left to play. They can claw their way and climb their way out of this abyss. But it starts with a mentality change. It has to start with fundamentals. It has to start with smart baseball, routine plays, make smart decisions. They're playing poor fundamental baseball. They don't look like they care out there. They're kind of looking lethargic. And, Ben Rice kind of said it the best way you possibly can. It's time for us to start playing with a little bit of urgency. I'm excited that at least someone on this team recognizes this team has to step it up and has to get their minds right before, everything else comes together. They get these new bullpen pieces. The first day is a freaking disaster. That game felt like a nail in the coffin. But like I said, lots of baseball left to play. We're going to talk about the flaws of this team right now, how they can turn it around, what we think the future holds. But right now, I am concerned. Like, this is a team playing like they don't really want to win. Ryan, I know you have lots of thoughts about it. How are you feeling? I imagine you're feeling similar to me in the sense that they got to step it up, and it starts with them getting in the right mindset.
Yeah, the first thing that I kind of look at with the New York Yankees is the fact that every week it feels like we're watching multiple plays that are just unacceptable for a baseball team, a Major League Baseball team at that. I kind of thought, okay, the Austin Wells play against Tampa, Yankees end up winning that game, but man, that's sloppy, right? That can't happen. Then you have a similarly that can't happen play on Friday where Jose Caballero completely miffs the ball in right field, a ground ball that goes underneath his glove. And then you go, okay, well, that's a play that just can't happen. Then a day later, Josh Chisholm gets picked off, or not picked off, he gets doubled up on an infield fly ball. These plays that quote-unquote just can't happen to the Yankees either multiple times a week or at least once a week. And it's felt like that for about 2 months now. At some point, it's no longer a slump. At some point, you just are playing bad baseball, and that is starting to define you. And it is starting to define the New York Yankees because they have played just unacceptably bad baseball. It feels like instead of, oh, it's going to get better, this is just a bump in the road, it will get better. They've been, they're Murphy's Law Yankees. They're the Murphy's Law Yankees. That's what I've described them as. They are a team that whatever can go wrong will. Whenever you think it's bottomed out, it gets worse. When you think it's the worst loss of the season, they find a new one. Whenever you think, man, this is definitely the ugliest game they've played all year, they'll play an uglier game. When you think, man, this is the worst series they've played all year, they'll play a worse series. This is what the Yankees have done for 2 months now. It's their identity. It's who they are. It's what they are at this point. Is it to say that, as you mentioned, there isn't any time to turn it around? The Yankees cannot rebound from this. It's done. It's over. No. But is it to say this is unacceptable and unbecoming of any team that ever labels itself a contender? Absolutely. Look, I get it. They're not the Rockies. They're not the White Sox. They're not bottom of the barrel teams or bottom of the barrel in terms of their watchability. But they are not. This is not the standard. This is not what the standard can be. The Yankees are outside of the top 10 in every defensive metric this season, and they're not bottom of the barrel. Do I think they're the worst defensive team I've ever seen? No. Do they make mistakes? Yes. Are they perfect? No. But that they're outside of the top 10. They're not a good defensive team, nor are they an elite defensive team. Both the eye test and the data suggest that. But Alex, last year's New York Yankees they've lost multiple of their worst defenders from that squad. And that's the part that really frustrates me. Let me kind of point out to you some of the players who no longer play for the Yankees. They're the worst player in terms of outs above average for the Yankees was Gleyber Torres. -7 outs above average, -7 DRS, -5 fielding run value. He's no longer on the team. Aaron Judge had the second worst outs above average, the second worst defensive run saved, and the second worst fielding run value. He no longer plays center field. He exclusively plays right field. Juan Soto, gone. They're second worst defender or the third worst defender in terms of outs above average. DJ LeMahieu, -1 defensive run, -1 outs above average, -3 defensive run saved, playing first base. He no longer plays first base. He no longer is on the team. So these guys who have combined for negative outs above average or negative defensive runs saved and have been bad defenders, Alex, are either not on the Yankees or, in the case of Aaron Judge, no longer play the position they were terrible at. And they are a worse defensive team than they were last year. That's unacceptable. This team should not be bad at base running either. And they are. And it's not even stolen bases. They're actually, I think they're like middle of the pack in terms of runs gained on stolen bases, and they're middle of the pack in outs made because of pickoffs and caught stealing. So they're a roughly solid base stealing team, which is all I really need this team to be. I don't need them to be the 2015 Royals or play Guardians ball in that regard. But if you look at their ability to take extra bases, they are abysmal. They're 25th in terms of net bases gained when you look at taking base and stuff like that. I think that's a measurement of your savviness as a base runner. I think raw athleticism, that plays more on your base stealing abilities, like just your jumps, your speed, all of that stuff. There's a savviness to it, but overall, I think the savvy nature or the baseball or the quick thinking part of it that comes with being a baseball team, that really gets displayed in your base running when you're trying to take extra bases. They're now 26th, in runner runs when you look at just their ability to advance or not advance bases. And it's not like the Yankees are an aggressive team either, Alex. Their estimated their attempt percentage above average of -3% is the worst in baseball. No one attempts run or to take an extra base less than the New York Yankees do on plays they should. No one in baseball. No one. And then if you want to look at safe, their efficiency in being safe. They're 21st in safe rate per opportunity. So they're not even efficient when they do it. We saw it yesterday with that Trent Grisham send, which was no chance, or not yesterday, that was Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday of that Trent Grisham send, had no chance of getting it. No chance. That's what the Yankees do, Alex. That's what they are this year.
Yeah, I mean, Luis Rojas is responsible, for that moment, but also let's talk about the one that happened a couple of days ago that really pissed people off, the Jazz Chisholm situation, where he's dancing off first base thinking that the second baseman, Xavier Edward, is going to drop the ball on purpose. Even if he did drop the ball on purpose, he was going to get him out at second. He wasn't that far down the line. We're talking about inexcusable mental mistakes, and in my opinion, I know Jazz is one of your best players, but you have to bench him there. In my opinion, I think you should bench him there because there's no consequences for taking unnecessary risks that lose you ball games, that make, that turn the momentum. And baseball, just like any other sport, is a game of momentum. 1 second, you have it all. We saw it on that first game of the series, and the second, you're losing it. And the Yankees are down 13-12 and losing a game they should have easily won. They were up 9-4 at one point. So these mental mistakes changed the confidence of other teams. They give life to other teams. They embarrass your own team. I think that there has to be consequences for bad decision-making, and there hasn't been, and that's on Aaron Boone. I do believe that Aaron Boone is responsible for laying down the law here, and I do think he wants to win, but when players are allowed to run around and do whatever they want with no repercussions, that is, there's no discipline. You have to enforce fundamentals. Fundamentals you learn, you practice, but the Yankees seems to me that they've compromised basic fundamentals of baseball for other metrics, right? And that's okay, but why can't you do both? Why can't you train the fundamentals of the game, the intelligence, just IQ of the game? Tom Brady wasn't a great quarterback because he was a physical specimen. He was a great quarterback because he was the smartest player on the field. You know what I mean? The Yankees have a lot of dumb players. And excuse my language there, just, I'm not trying to say they're stupid individuals. What I'm trying to say is they have low baseball IQ. And that is unacceptable when you're trying to be a playoff caliber team. So, that is kind of where I get a little bit thrown off by this ball club, is that they have low baseball IQ. They don't take proper opportunities. I love the way Jose Caballero runs on the bases, but then he has that inexcusable error in the outfield where he completely misses the ball. And he's been playing right field plenty this year. Like, there's no reason for him to make that mistake. So, I do not understand, Ryan, why players are joining this team and immediately being infected with this lack of fundamental ball kind of situational play. It baffles me. You step into the game and Jake Bird gives up a grand slam immediately. David Bednar, who has historically been horrible, down playing the Marlins, gets shelled immediately. You're seeing these guys like that should be good. You see Jose Caballero miss a ball in the outfield. You see Jazzers in his homecoming to Miami make one of the dumbest mistakes you've ever seen in a professional league, like ball game. Like, why is it that players join the Yankees and then instantly regress when it comes to baseball IQ? I think it's a team orientation. It is bleeding off onto other players. It is a complete collapse. It's not an individual thing. Everybody is collapsing simultaneously, and when one thing happens, the probability of it happening again skyrockets. A third time, skyrockets. You need to be fundamentally sound across the board. There is no if, and, or buts. There's no zero. It's 0 or 100. You can make an error every now and then. That's normal, right? That's just averages. But the Yankees make more than usual, and that is really concerning. I also think that there has to be a conversation about Austin Wells to a slight degree. The way that he is a black hole in this offense right now. He has been horrible. And defensively, of course, he's great. The framing is tremendous. He has 8 catcher framing runs. That defense is excellent. But, Ryan, we can pivot there for a second. I'll give you a second to obviously respond to just the utter fundamental lapses across the board. But what do you think about Austin Wells, too, here and the way that he's been playing? Do you think Ben Rice needs more time at catcher?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, when you say Jazz made one of the worst plays you've ever seen, it's one of the worst plays you've seen that week for the Yankees. Because you can look a week earlier, or you can look at that same week and that a series right before and look at Austin Wells not knowing how many outs there were. Right? Like, we sit here and we're like, this is the worst play I've seen. No, it's not. You watched a play like that a week ago. It's the worst play you've seen that game. It's the worst play you've seen that week. It's the worst play you've seen that series. The Yankees made 5 errors in a game against the Blue Jays, and it feels like another game for the Yankees. This is what they do. It's what they've done since really the World Series. Or honestly, I'll say since the postseason, because the postseason, they made a lot of sloppy plays in the postseason that just, really drove you up a wall. ALCS games against the Guardians where they couldn't make routine plays and it did cost them. And thankfully they hit well enough where they moved on and they advanced, and Cleveland wasn't really in there. I didn't think Cleveland belonged in the same field as the Yankees in terms of pure talent. It's crazy that the Yankees, like, they play down to competition at a rate that, quite honestly, not a lot of teams do. Not a lot of teams can do what the Yankees do in that regard. Not a lot of them can. It's very scary that that's the case. And the last thing I'd like to note when you talk about Austin Wells, yeah, I think Ben Rice is going to have to eat into his playing time. He has to. If he doesn't, then we're not going to be trying to win games because Ben Rice is one of their better hitters this year. He's framing pretty well. Now, I get it. The defense does matter, and that's to say that I don't think Austin Wells should be completely phased out of it, and I think he can rebound and get himself to a point where the Yankees are happy with his production this year, but he has taken a massive step back offensively. This is not the hitter we saw last year, and so we're kind of it just feels like we're sitting here and we're talking about a New York Yankee team that, like, for 2 months has not been able to do the routine, and even with Wells slumping or this guy slumping or that guy slumping, they still hit. Like, I know they got shut out on Saturday. That sucked. But without Aaron Judge, they've hit. It's crazy. He goes down. I believe it was Sunday was the day that we found out he was going on the IL. And we avoided disaster that day with the potential injury situation. But the New York Yankees are, they're still hitting. They're still hitting. They're still scoring. They're still doing enough to win baseball games. They're not playing like utter dog crap offensively. Are they hitting at the rate that they would with Aaron Judge? No. But are they scoring? Yeah, they're scoring runs. And, they have the 8th most runs scored in baseball over that stretch at 40. They're averaging 5 runs a game over that 8-game stretch without Aaron Judge. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild to say the very least. So, I don't know, Alex. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
It is very frustrating. And listen, the Yankees pitching has been suspect anyway. So even with Austin Wells in there playing solid defense, this team's getting shelled, just absolutely shelled at times by a Marlins team that is, obviously been excellent lately. They've been really, really good and playing like the power of friendship. But the Yankees should be able to quell the power of friendship with pure $300 million payrolls. You know what I mean? Like that's just the reality. But I'll tell you this, the bullpen, I think it will improve. I think getting out of Miami will help. They have the Rangers next, starting today. So they need to turn this thing around fast. They need Judge back in the lineup fast, but then you obviously have to take Stanton out unless you put him in right field, which is you're going to have to live with that, and the Yankees don't want to have to live with that. But yeah, you need Judge in the lineup over Stanton. You have to make that sacrifice. You can always use Stanton as a pinch hitter down, if they're losing a game by a run or whatever it might be towards the end. So they have options off the bench. I do think that, they need their captain back. This team looks... They need, they can't score 10 runs, 12 runs the one night and then the next day not score. You know what I mean? And then the next day put up 3. And Edward Cabrera's phenomenal. So I'll give them a break on that because he's a tremendous pitcher this year. So, the Yankees need that balance back. They need Judge back. They're really missing, Fried in the last performance. He was excellent. He gave a couple runs in the first 2 innings and then bounced back. I was actually at that game. So, we love to see that like tough, gritty performance from him. You know what the Yankees really miss right now, Ryan? I hate to say it. They miss Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
They really do, man.
They miss Clark Schmidt, too.
They miss Clark Schmidt.
We knew we were going to have Garrett Cole to come into the year. We didn't know Clark Schmidt was going to be out for the whole year. We didn't know he was going to tear his UCL. If we had him, I mean, we'd be in a much better spot, but will we still be making the same mistakes? I really think the issue with the New York Yankees is that they keep making the dumbest mistakes they've ever seen. There's no team that does more to harm themselves than the New York Yankees. Not a single team in Major League Baseball. In the World Series, you know why the New York Yankees lost the World Series? Dumb mistakes. Jake Cousins walking Gavin Lux. With Freddie Freeman, with Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman up.
And then you put Nestor Cortez in over Tim Hill.
And we talk about that, but we could also talk about, you remember that remember Oswaldo Cabrera came into that game for Gleyber Torres as a defensive sub, and a ground ball's hit his way, which could have been a game-ending double play, but at least you get one out there under his glove. He doesn't get a good read on it, and it goes under his glove when he dives over it. That's a play he should make. Game 5. I'm not going to do the whole Game 5 thing again. We all know what happened in Game 5. Those are 2 World Series games. The Yankees just said, hey, Dodgers, here you go. Here's the game. Just take it. We don't need this game. It's what they've done. It's what they do. It doesn't matter who's on the field. We could say, well, they just need better defenders. You see, if Volpe steps it up defensively, if this happens, no. If X, Y, and Z, they're still going to make the mistakes. Well, they don't have what was the conversation in the offseason? Okay, they lost Soto. That's not great. That wasn't their plan. But at least they'll be better defensively. No Gleyber, no Soto. Should be better there. They got worse. They got worse defensively. Got worse. When they get the deadline additions, they'll turn it around. No, Jazz is making the dumbest mistake I've ever seen. You have awful sense. The guy you bring in, and Caballero, I know people are going to say shouldn't be playing the outfield. He's played great outfield. You remember that home run robbery of Ben Rice? That was Jose Caballero. The guy's robbing home runs against us, but the second he goes to right field for the Yankees, can't field a routine grounder. It's insane.
Yeah.
This team is, and Jazz Chisholm mentioned this to the media. He was like, kind of feels like we're pressing, maybe trying to do too much. Really? This team's pressing? Couldn't tell from their on-field play. This team is playing like they can't handle any sort of adversity. This team cannot handle it. They can't.
They're playing like it's April. They're playing like these games do not matter. And they're now in third place. You mentioned I don't understand how players come here. Caballero's been playing excellent defense in the outfield this year. And the second he comes here, the very first defensive rep he gets, he misses a ground ball under his glove, right? It's unfathomable. It's unbelievable. It's hard to actually understand how a player can come into this kind of locker room, this equation, and immediately get bit by the same bug everybody else has been. Anthony Volpe's defense this year has completely tanked the infield's efficiency, right? Completely tanked it. Jazz is a great defensive second baseman. Goldschmidt's he's competent. He's not great. He's average. Ryan McMahon looks like you get the aura from him that he is an excellent defensive player, but you see the plays that he makes, Ryan, you're like, all right, this guy's going to bail us out of an inning more times than not. You know what I mean? They need more guys that are going to bail them out of an inning more times than not, and right now, you have Volpe committing easy throwing errors, like routine ground balls he's putting in the dirt, right? You can't expect Goldschmidt to scoop every single one, or Ben Rice at first. Jazz Chisholm, he's fine defensively, but offensively he just makes decisions that baffle you. And also you mentioned the stolen bases. Anthony Volpe's stolen bases are down, and Chisholm's stolen bases are down. These are 2 guys that made a living off of stealing bags. You know what I mean? So I do think that when you look just at, especially Volpe, I don't know why they're not being a little bit more aggressive there with him. I definitely think that's, dude, Chisholm it has 14 stolen bases right now, Ryan, in 81 games. He had 40 last year in 147. So if you double that, he's only at 28. You know what I mean? And that's not even, he played less games than if you double 81. So there is a massive problem happening here where the Yankees are just not maximizing each individual player's skill set. To me, that has to be a coaching thing, because Jazz Chisholm's not deciding when to steal every time. He's having these conversations with his first base coach, whatever it might be. There has to be more aggression to their game. They're playing like they're leaning back in the lazy boy right now. They're just going to walk into the playoffs because they're the New York Yankees. These guys got to play like they have something to prove. And to me, they forgot that they lost in the World Series last year, Ryan. They look like they forgot what happened to them, that they got embarrassed. And the thing is, there's a lot of new faces on this team who weren't there for it. The guys who have to step up, and remind everybody we were in the chip last year and we lost. And our goal is to win it this year, and they're playing like they're third place in the American League East. You know what I mean? Maybe even fourth place. Like, they got to turn it around. So someone's got to rally the troops, whether it's Judge, whether it's a small comment from Rice that I think spoke volumes. Rice, somebody's pissed, man. Somebody's got to speak up and remind everyone that these guys want it and that they're pissed off, because we hear Boone's yapping. We hear his yapping on the press conferences. He said maybe now we're feeling the gut punch, right? I'm like, dude, what do you mean now? You should have felt that 2 weeks ago. Why is it now that you're feeling this?
They played, I believe it's 13 games against the Red Sox and Blue Jays, who are now ahead of them in the standings, and they won 2 of them. 2 of them. If it wasn't, I mean, like, think about that. 2 of them. 2. Not 5. They didn't go like, 1 game below, 2 games below. They were like, hey, Blue Jays, Red Sox, here's the season. And in all of those games, what was it, like 7 errors in those Toronto games total? I think it was more than that, actually. I think I might be selling that number short. I believe they had an error a game in their 7 combined games. Oh, no, it was 7 then. It was 7 errors in 7 games against the Blue Jays in Toronto in that stretch. Multiple base running gaffes against the Red Sox. Why, like, I'm not saying this because I feel this way, because I'm going to care whether the team's, 15 games under or 15 games over. Why should fans care if that's the product on the field? I'm not going to go after the effort. I don't know what their effort is. I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't know these people personally. But, like, if I'm a casual Yankee fan and I watch Jazz Chisholm get doubled up on a play that would get you benched in high school, I'd go, shit, they don't care. Why should I? And turn off my TV and go outside in nice New York City weather, or nice Long Island weather, or nice weather from wherever you're a Yankee fan, if it's nice weather over there. I don't, maybe you're like in Alaska and it's like colder over there. I don't know. We do actually have Alaskan viewers. I didn't know that. We do. I looked at the data. So, like, why? Why would you watch? Why would anyone watch? Why would anyone who's a casual fan and isn't tied to, like, doesn't have like strong emotional attachment to the team watch? Why would you pay money to watch this? Like, why? Why would you do it? Why? If you're a casual fan, you don't really care, you're not going to do it. If you're a diehard, yeah, you're going to do it because through thick and thin, all that stuff. I'm not saying, being a fan means you turn it off when it's bad, but for casual fans, that's what it means. You turn it off when it's bad, and you turn it on when it's good. This team charges first-rate prices and is not giving you a first-rate product. You're charging Apple prices for non-Apple products. When I pay for a MacBook, I want a MacBook. I don't want, not a MacBook. You pay a premium for a MacBook. You pay a premium. It's a lot of money. It's very expensive, even for a used one. You pay a lot of money to go to games. You pay a lot of money for that Yes subscription, and I can't expect like high school level fundamentals. I can't expect like good base running. I can't expect good defense. I have to take whatever slop we've seen for the last 8 weeks. Casual fans going to think, I don't have to watch this. Summertime, baby. Time to be out. 7 o'clock hits, go out. Don't watch the Yankees. That's what that fan feeling is going to feel like for casual fans.
It feels like it right now, for sure. So, I have to say, this team putting a poor product on the field reflects back on the coaching and reflects back on Cashman. And to be quite frank, I don't think Cashman constructed a bad roster. I think this team has plenty of talent. I think this team is more than capable of making a deep run in the postseason. They showed that during the first half of the year, Ryan. They were excellent for the first 3 months of the season. Like, lights out, this team is a absolute World Series competitor. And then they just flipped a switch. Something happened where it all just turned off. And they were playing better ball. Things were at least balanced. Now, pitching's great. Hitters don't show up. Hitters show up, pitching's horrible. Starters show up, bullpen's horrible. Like, they can't put together a complete game. And it's becoming to the point where, like, yes, they're pressing because they're trying to fix problems in real time that they don't have control over. Nobody can influence how David Bednar throws, except for David Bednar. And obviously, like, there's coaching there, but in the moment, he's the only one that's throwing the ball. No one can take a swing for Jazz. No one can take a swing. No one can run the bases for Jazz Chisholm. These are things that happen in real time that players need to be accountable for, and the Yankees don't have a disciplinary set of rules. You know what I mean? You can get away with doing any dumb thing you want to be as a New York Yankee. I mean, Ryan, you take it from some of the older fans. What do you think Hal Steinbrenner would have done, or rather George Steinbrenner would have done if he saw his players performing like this? Making mistakes that high schoolers don't make. Who knows? Maybe he would have went into the locker room and laid one into them. You know what I mean? Like, just laid it on them. Like, you guys need to step your shit up. Because right now, you're playing like a bunch of little leaguers. Not like professional players making 15, 20, $25 million per season. Everybody's accountable, right? Aaron Judge, captain, I bet you he's back there saying, like, dude, we got to clean that up. There's no excuse for making decisions like that. So I'll assume, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I bet you Boone, I bet you they're all talking to him. Like, we saw Boone take Jazz Chisholm downstairs, in the clubhouse after that moment and talk to him. But there was no repercussions. It was just an empty speech that, nothing, we don't even know what happened. We don't even know what was said. But he stayed in the game, and he got away with one of the worst base running decisions I've ever seen. So I do think there has to be some discipline for mistakes like this, consistent, constant mistakes. Boone gives a lot of leash to players that have really been struggling. Like, I think Austin Wells should be losing playing time right now, but he's not. You know what I mean? He's really not. So I think that they give too long a leash until they're in holes that they can't dig themselves out of sometimes. They need to play the best players on the team, Ryan. You know what I mean? You say that all the time. The Yankees need to play the best possible players and have the best possible equation that gives them a chance to win every single day. And sometimes I don't get the sense that they do.
Yeah, you got to throw out your best nine. Have to have your best nine. And I mean, I'd say, like, I'm not going to say bullpen usage has to be better. Like, the bullpen just, they imploded. That's, I can nitpick here, nitpick there, but you allow 13 runs, right? Like, I'm not going to make that
or how about
manager.
Yesterday, there was a situation where it might have been the splits. I didn't look at the underlying stats there, but the Marlins put in a right-handed reliever, and they take Ben Rice out.
Yeah, I think there was a lefty in, and I guess they prefer. You asked me, I'd prefer Rice against the lefty than Goldie against the righty. The numbers say
Rice.
that, like, I would. I disagree with that decision. I'm just referring to, like, if I'm Aaron Boone, my goal is to put the best nine out there position player wise. I don't think he bungled it Friday. I don't think that's what happened there. That's why I referenced the bullpen thing. I think, like, the team got shut out Saturday. Like, I'm going to look at the players, too, and say, I mean, I can talk about the organization, but, like, yo, Jazz Chisholm, you're like you've played for a while. You can't do that. Austin Wells, like, how do you not know how many outs there are? For the pitchers, you guys are walking people. Like, Carlos Rodon walked 5 people up 6. You should be. I think that we should count walks up 6 runs as errors. I think those should be counted. I think that I'm not even, like, I don't mean that in a joking way. Camilo Doval walked the tying run on base in the 9th. This is the part I've struggled with, like, keeping my cool over. You walked 8 people in a game where you had multiple massive leads. As a pitching staff, just don't show up to the ballpark. Don't show up. Go home. Don't show up. If you're going to show up and you're going to walk people up 6 runs, walk people up 5 runs, don't show up. Go home. Don't show up. Don't walk out of the bullpen. Tell them you can't pitch that day. You're going to walk 5 people up 6 runs, handed a 6-run lead, 5 walks. Every Cardinal sin that you can't make in baseball, the Yankees made in that Marlins series. And it frustrates me because, damn it, this is a good team. This is a good roster, and this team can't put it together. 8 walks, Alex. 8 walks. Walk the tying run. It's baseball, man. You know this shit since high school, man. Your pitching coach would be screaming at you in the dugout if you did that, man. If you walk 5 dudes when you're spotted a 6-run lead, you wouldn't make it. God, man, it'd be rough. 6-0. Walk. You're up 6 runs. You're up a solo home runs. What happens? Nothing. Throw it down the plate, man. Throw it down the middle. I'd rather you give up a solo home run up 6 runs. I'd rather you give up 3 solo home runs in a row than walk 2 batters up 6. Because at least I know the approach is fine. Got to make the perfect pitch. You're up 6, man. Got to make the perfect pitch. It's a 3-2 count. It's the tying run at the plate. He hits a 2-run home run. You can still you can still get through that inning and get to extras with the offense you have. But you got to walk him. God forbid you go after someone in this league. God forbid we go after people in this league. Oh, man, worst thing you can do, attack the zone. Same shit they did in the World Series. Same shit they're doing now. Can't go after guys. Can't make routine plays. This is basic fundamentals. These are the cardinal rules of baseball. It's the type of stuff you don't even have to think about. You just know. You grew up in baseball, you know it. It can't keep happening. It can't keep happening. If we watch this Texas series and it's the same thing again, I'm sorry, you have to fire somebody at the end of the season, barring some sort of World Series run, which that's. I don't believe in firing someone before we get to the postseason, if we get there. But this Texas series, we see more of it. Man, it's only going to grow louder, and it should grow louder.
Yep. I like it when you let your emotions run wild. It makes for a much more enjoyable podcast episode.
Like it's just frustrating, man. It just is. I can't get over walks. I can't get over these dumb errors. I can't. I can understand when you can't hit. I can understand when you get shut out. It happens, man. Yuri Perez is nasty. I get it, dude. I do. I get it, man. I get it when you just have a day where you can't pitch. Like Bednar comes in and just gets ambushed, right? It happens. Dude, it happens. I'll at least, credit to him, he went after everybody. Bird walked people. Rodon walked 5. Domilo walked the tying run. I can't get behind that, man.
Yeah. Walking the bases loaded for stowers is a hilarious thing to do.
Again, you strike out, man. You have a game where you strike out 12 times, sure. You have a game where you can't get guys out. It happens. It's baseball.
Yeah. Fundamentals, though. That's what we're talking about. Fundamental problems and being aggressive. This team is not being aggressive. You can see it in the stolen bases. You can see it in their approach with the pitching. They don't go after guys when you're up significant runs. Like you said, give up a solo home run. Who cares? You bounce back, throw strikes. They'll put the ball in play. Hopefully you guys can get outs. But if you give guys free bases, traditionally good hitters have good numbers with runners in scoring position. And you walked the bases loaded with the heart of their order coming up. Yeah. So the Yankees positioned themselves to lose. They gave life to a team that was dead in the water, pun intended, because they're the Marlins. But, I do think that when you're looking at the Yankees as a whole, they're just immune to balanced baseball, or they're just like allergic to it. They're allergic to balanced baseball. They're allergic to making fundamental decisions, fundamental plays, and critical decisions. And that's the thing, Ryan. They don't make mistakes when they're like, it's the second inning, it's 0-0, the games. They make mistakes in the 8th inning, and they're up 1 run, and they need to get this out. That's when the mistake happens. They don't have ice in their veins. You know what I mean? They are a non-clutch team. And that's kind of what bothers me, is they make the most mistakes in the most important moments of every game. And that is a fundamental. I would argue there's managerial problems, there's individual problems, there's mentality problems, there's confidence problems, but they're overthinking it. Every single time a ball hits their way, they are nervous because they make the mistakes. And if you've ever played a sport in your life and it's a critical moment and the ball gets hit your way, you are trying not to think about it. So I don't know. I do think that the Yankees have a lot to work on. They need to get right. They need to string some wins together. They need to get their captain back. But they've got to get themselves out of this hole, and they got to do it fast before they get buried. So always happy to hear your thoughts down below in the YouTube comment section, my friends. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.